Good afternoon. I'm Shunmin Chow. We begin with some good news in the coronavirus situation. 4 Harris County patients who had tested positive have just been released from the hospital, and we are told they are doing well. We have also learned that the Houston Museum of Natural Science has asked 35 travelers, including 2 staff members, to self-quarantine for 14 days. All were on a trip to Egypt that began in February and ended yesterday. The museum says it has kept in touch with travelers throughout the trip as new information developed. The museum has also notified local health officials and told its 2 staff members not to come back to work yet. You may recall the 12 local coronavirus cases we've had were all connected to a separate cruise trip to Egypt. And as we said, 4 of those patients have been released from the hospital and are in good health. Meanwhile, Harvard University students must move off campus by Sunday when their spring break begins and not return. All classes will go online for the rest of the semester. In Florida, a state of emergency has not deterred spring breakers who are still flocking to the beaches. And despite a CDC warning against cruising, 7 cruise ships departed from Miami yesterday. But in Italy, the entire country is in lockdown until April 3rd. It is the hardest hit country outside China, which now reports the lowest level of infections in a month. Meanwhile, President Xi Jinping visited a hospital in Wuhan and coronavirus patients there. Several Houston ISD employees are under self-quarantine. The district says there are no confirmed cases. It's not clear if these are teachers or administrators, although recently traveled to a country on the CDC's travel warning list or were in close proximity to someone who did. Here's Michael George with more on what is happening nationwide.
Thousands of passengers on the Grand Princess cruise ship in California are waiting for their chance to get off the ship. A few hundred passengers began disembarking Monday, most headed to U.S. military bases for testing and a 14-day quarantine. 19 crew members and 2 passengers on the cruise have tested positive for coronavirus. The ship has also been linked to 12 cases from a previous trip, including 1 death.
I have a pacemaker, defibrillator in my chest.
Ron Weisberger and his wife Eva are suing the cruise line's parent company, saying the cruise continued to sail knowing that some passengers and crew had already been exposed to COVID-19.
If we would have known, let's say before we landed in the first port, we would have gotten off that ship.
In Washington state, health officials announced 3 more coronavirus deaths at a nursing home outside Seattle Monday. A spokesperson for Life Care Center says 31 residents still in the facility have tested positive for the virus. 76-year-old Susan Haley is one of them.
Her nurse has called me regularly to let us know what is going on with her, so she's being watched.
Here in New York, the United Nations is closing its doors to visitors and preparing for the possibility of virtual Security Council meetings, something that's never happened before in the history of the UN. Several universities, including Columbia, announced they will switch to online courses only. And in Washington, D.C., there's a second confirmed case linked to Christ Church in Georgetown. In addition to the rector of the prominent Episcopal Church, the organist has also tested positive. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
All right, let's take a live look at the stock market right now. It is up about 150 points after tanking 2,000 points yesterday. It is up now in part thanks to the president's economic stimulus proposal. President Trump expected to speak later today about the plan to fight coronavirus's economic fallout. The proposal includes help for hourly wage earners and a possible payroll tax cut. The goal for workers to keep more money in their pocketbooks.
So that they can be in a position where they're not going to ever miss a paycheck.
There is also talk of relief for airlines and cruise industries. Meanwhile, at least 5 members of Congress, including Texas Senator Ted Cruz, are under self-quarantine after interacting with a person confirmed with coronavirus. 2 of these people have been in contact with President Trump. You can get more information by simply texting FAX to 713-526-1111. We'll send you a link with the latest details about coronavirus.